I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Locales throughout Ann Arbor are hosting the new portable public restroom one-year pilot program by Throne Labs, Inc. for everyone, regardless of age, sex, and ability. The free restrooms featuring colorful designs commemorating the city's bicentennial are maintenanced regularly. Access the restrooms by using the QR code, the Throne Bathrooms mobile app, or picking up an access card at the Ann Arbor City Hall or Delanus Center during regular business hours. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. Welcoming ethnicities and cultures from all over the world make living in our region of Michigan special. For 27 years, the African American Downtown Festival has been sharing Black-owned businesses, artists, and entertainment of all kinds with the community.
We got the African American Festival down here, lots of food, good people, and a great time.
There was a strong population of Black businesses almost 30-some years ago, so we're here just to keep that tradition going and to recognize that.
Stucco Girl Collection, which is our business, and we currently sell design-inspired jewelry, dresses, accessories.
You can find us at tacoutsearch.com. We really want to, advocate for gun safety. We want to try to find a way to end gun violence. We want to find a way to make sure that the guns stay out of the youth. I have here the original art varying from pencil, pastels, oil, acrylic, even on clothes.
We have different, from all backgrounds. We have the gospel, we have jazz, we have R&B. We try to hit our different background and so we can support every genre of music.
The knowledge and the understanding and stuff of the culture. So it's a very great venue, a very great event. I'm proud to be a part of it.
And it's good to come out and fellowship and meet good people from all ethnics and come out and explore and see what's going on and to represent downtown Ann Arbor.
Equality is a human right that generations of African Americans have had to fight for. There was a time when the color of your skin would affect your worth, your seat on the bus, the water fountain you could drink from. But the tide began to turn on June 19th, 1865, when all of the United States, Texas being the last holdout, emancipated slavery. But there was still a long road to travel before Juneteenth would become a federal holiday. Joining me is William Hampton, president of the Ann Arbor NAACP. Welcome back to the show, William.
Hey, Triple D. How's thee?
It's going pretty well. I'm glad to have you back this year to talk about Juneteenth. I think it's such an important conversation to have, and for people to continue to learn about Juneteenth and the meaning behind it, because I still feel like since it's become a federal holiday, a lot of people don't understand why they have the day off of work.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's just another burden on their taxes.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Can you tell us, from your perspective, what Juneteenth is? Because it's something that you're obviously very passionate about.
Well, it's funny you should ask. This year, we're selling Juneteenth t-shirts. And on the back of the t-shirts, it says, a celebration of freedom, the anniversary of June 19th, the day enslaved people in Texas learned they were free. So we have the regular Juneteenth shirt, which looks like this. And on the back, as a constant reminder, they give a description of what Juneteenth is. And that way, not as many people will be asking me at Juneteenth, what is Juneteenth?
Yeah.
But June 19th is the day some of the enslaved people in Texas learned they were free. Okay, this is after the emancipation.
Mm-hmm.
This is after the Civil War ended. But it certainly did not free all African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
There were still enslaved people in the United States of America because there are spaces and places in the United States of America that news just doesn't get there that fast. And
Yeah, I
imagine,
mean, it was slow. It was slow back
yeah,
then, for
there
sure.
was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, there was no email, there was very little ways to get information to the masses. So I spoke to University of Michigan last year, and my topic was why Juneteenth did not free all African American people. And to some extent, we're still not free.
That's why I sort of mentioned that this, obviously, it's only been a federal holiday for a couple of years now, like a few years. But you're always hearing about police brutality and how African Americans are treated differently than other people. And that stuff is real and it's really happening today, still in 2024.
You're absolutely right. You know, we still, if I go to a store and there's several of us at a countertop and the clerk is facing the other way, when she turns around or he turns around, invariably he'll ask somebody who does not look like me, who was first here. I don't think that's intentional. I think that's the way people have been socialized.
It's learned. Yeah.
It is. It's learned behavior.
Yeah. And that's like why it is so important to have these conversations and continue to talk about this stuff because I don't think like a lot of people will be like, I'm not racist, but then they do things and they're not even aware of the way that they are treating other people differently.
They're not, and I understand that. I don't agree with it, but I understand. I mean, people who say I don't see color probably never stop at a red light because they don't see color.
Uh,
Yeah. So I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody who wants to have an exchange. I don't want to have a conversation with somebody who's looking to me to tell them how to feel and how to act, but transferring that, I don't want somebody doing that same thing to me either. Conversation is about a learning experience. It's about sharing. It's about talking about human experiences, you know, sharing thoughts, sharing feelings, and sharing things that have happened to you.
yeah, I read this story not that long ago about a black woman that got pulled over by the police and her child was in the car and the child was really scared because it was like a situation where she was getting pulled over for nothing, the color of her skin. And it made me think if I were to get pulled over, I don't think my daughter would be scared. And that's the difference between the color of your skin and the way you're treated.
Well, that's a good point. There was a woman several years ago named Aura Rosser who was ended up not alive anymore after police were investigating a domestic violence call. And I spoke with city council the very next time council met. And I didn't say police were bad. I didn't say police were um, violated the rights of folks. I didn't say any of that. But what I did say was the holidays are upcoming. People will be with their friends and relatives. The police officer who was involved in the Ora Rosser incident will be with their families, but Ora Rosser will not. And I got complimented by the police chief at that time for my balance in that speech. However, I live less than 1 mile away from City Hall, and I was stopped on the way home in an area that didn't have many streetlights. And I found out two things. I found out that I was not entitled to ask, why am I being stopped? I was told, um, you better let me ask the questions. And I was also learned that at that time, simple police stops were not recorded. So when I went down to get a copy of the police report, there was not one in existence, and there was nothing I could do about that. So I couldn't file a complaint about something that didn't exist.
You mentioned that about people say I don't see color, which is just the most ridiculous thing to say. I think I feel like I try my best to treat everyone the best I can. The people I like, I guess. The people
Yeah,
more about personality than the color of your skin.
yeah.
But I think that's sort of how you should look at it. Like you like people for who they are.
Well, if I had a piece of advice to give to everybody, it would be this. Sometimes all of us need to listen, not to respond. And too often we want to get into point counterpoint, and that's not what it's about. Let me tell you a short story. There used to be a subcommittee at City Hall called the Diversity Action Committee, and I was the chair of that committee for a while. And I was talking about my experience about being a black man in America. And a lady came up to me, she was a member, and she said, I understand and I appreciate everything you said, but there's a major difference between you and I. She said, there's sanctuary for African Americans within the African American family, within the African American home. She said, if you're a gay person, there's no sanctuary because lots of times people will disown people because they're a gay person. And I never really thought about that before, but that resonated with me. And it let me know that I too need to listen as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought of it that way either, honestly. But it is true. And I know gay people that don't have a relationship with their family anymore. That is a very
Right,
true statement.
right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about this year's Juneteenth, when it is and what we can expect, and why it is a community event that people should continue to go to every year?
Well, let me start out by saying, by making one thing perfectly clear. The purpose of Juneteenth is not to make white people feel bad. That's what I've heard from a lot of my white friends.
That's
And
interesting because I've never thought that, but I guess I could see people saying that for sure.
well, I understand it. I do. The purpose of Juneteenth is to educate because there's a lot about the Black experience that people just simply don't know. Like, for example, one of the activities that we have at Juneteenth is the cakewalk. And one of our newer members, who doesn't look like me, didn't know what a cakewalk was. And so I had to go into an explanation. I chose to go into an explanation of what a cakewalk is. Just real quickly, it's a way back in the day that African American people got desserts for their families at a very low cost. Cakewalk. And there are lots of experiences that exist only in the African American community that most people don't know, because in America, uh, everybody expects America to be a melting pot, and I respectfully disagree with that. I think America is a combination of a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people, a lot of differences, and we need to learn from each other. Juneteenth is an opportunity for us to learn more about the experience of African American people, and also it's a way to interface with people at a celebration that you otherwise wouldn't have even been at. And
Hmm.
so we have children's activities, we have food that African American people ate back in the day. Some of it we don't have. Like the one that we don't have is probably the most prevalent food for a long time in the African American community, and that was chitlins or chitterlings, as some people call it.
Hmm.
In the Black community, they call it chitlins. And the reason why that food was so pervasive in the African American community is because nobody wanted to eat intestines but us. So it was throwaway food. And so we got some of the throwaway food. So we learned how to prepare chitterlings or chitlins, whichever one you
Chitlins.
choose.
I would say chitlins. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is. In a manner that tasted good. We don't have that at Juneteenth, but we have red pop, we have fried fish, we have catfish, we have lots of foods that African American people ate predominantly back in the day.
One of the things, and I think this year's the same, that you guys always start Juneteenth off with like a community walk to the location. Is that happening again this year?
It is.
Can you tell
Um,
me the significance behind having it's almost like a march,
it
right?
is. We call it a walk instead of a march because of the symbolism. Um, we marched for a lot of things back in the day. It would be it would be a little bit disingenuous to call this a march, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Hmm.
So it's a march of a diverse group of folks from Fuller Park to Wheeler Park. Right now, there's no significant concentration of an African American community in Ann Arbor. The percentage of African Americans is too low to have that. A story that circulated about 40 years ago that said M14 was going to come through that community, through that area. And a lot of that property was obtained through what they call eminent domain. And a lot of Black folks lost their homes because of that.
Hmm.
And when you lose your property through eminent domain, you cannot reacquire that property for the same price. So those people are priced out of range with that. So a few African American families lived over near where Bethel Church is now.
Hmm.
So our march comes through that part of town because it's a little known fact that there was a concentration of Black folks that lived over there. And so we marched through that area as an educational piece.
Yeah, honestly, I've been hearing more and more about people, and a lot of stories now are from their grandchildren about people, well, the businesses that had been lost. There was a lot of Black businesses in Ann Arbor back, 40 plus years ago. But I didn't realize how many Black people lost their homes. And it was basically
Yeah.
like their homes were stolen from them.
Well, I'm not going to use that phrase, but I agree with you.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, I completely understand now that walk and why it makes so much sense now to do that walk and to really keep that history alive because I think people need to know that these things happen so we don't repeat it.
well, you know, for people who um, have a couple more dollars in their pockets than you and I do,
Hmm.
claim that America love it or need or leave it. It should be up to all of us to make this a more perfect union. I
Hmm.
mean, nothing is perfect. Not me, not Triple D, um, and neither is America. So that's what all of us should be doing our best job possible, making this United States of our United States of America a better place for all of us. And we have it at Wheeler Park, and we have it at Wheeler Park because of the fact that park was named. And I assisted in the writing of the resolution to make that Wheeler Park back in the day. And Wheeler Park is a park named for the only African American um, mayor that the city has had to this date. Ironically, our first Juneteenth celebration happened 30 years ago, 1994, and that's the same year that Al Wheeler passed away. Um,
Wow.
it is, and so this year we're going to be assisting with a documentary about the Alf Wheeler family. And we're doing two things for that. Um, we're having Carol Gibson, who's the co-author of the book Another Ann Arbor, which
Hmm.
talks about the Black experience. She's going to be there, and she's going to be talking about the documentary. She's going to be talking about her experience here in Ann Arbor and some of the things that we can do to make Ann Arbor more more user friendly for everybody. And here's one example. There are lots of activities that happen all the time that involves Black folks here in Ann Arbor at the same time. And about 35, 40 years ago, uh, the Another Ann Arbor project had a website and it listed all of the African American activities. I'm using the word Black and African American interchangeably because there are people on both sides get mad if you say one or the other.
That is it's a good point because I do feel like sometimes people don't know the proper terminology, and I have a tendency to do what you do, where I use both.
Yeah, yeah. And so the purpose of doing this is to make people aware of some of the things that they think is not important. I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of people think of life beginning when they were born, and anything that happened prior to that date is not important. So if you talk about Al Wheeler, you run into a lot of folks who either weren't born or very young when he passed away, and to them it's not important. But had it not been for Al Wheeler, we would not be doing as well as we are doing. Not only was he the first and only African American mayor of the city of Ann Arbor, he was also, and his wife separately, presidents of the NAACP at one time. And I'm really tired right now. I said that to you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I think about me being tired right now, I think about all the times Al Wheeler got up in the middle of the night because some little boy or little girl had been placed in jail and didn't have bond money to get out. And
Mm-hmm.
he did that a lot. He spent his own money and he never asked for reimbursement. He did it not because he wanted recognition for doing that, which a lot of people don't even know he did it. He did it because it was the right thing to do. And he had his own trials. He had his own trials. He had a daughter who passed away because the first hospital that they took her to didn't serve African Americans. So in transit between the hospital that he went to first and the hospital that took black folks, she passed away. And that's something that troubled him until the day he passed away. The most in-depth conversation I ever had with him was about that fact. My sister took her first airline flight to Michigan from Texas. I'm from Texas originally, where
Mm-hmm.
we always celebrated Juneteenth. So when we came, uh, I I had called Al Wheeler and his wife Emma a few weeks before and let her know she was coming in town. She said, "Oh, bring him back." And they were just so graceful to her and so nice to her. They treated her like they had known her for years, and I won't ever forget that.
Do you want to talk about some of the speakers and musical performers that you have at this year's Juneteenth?
Well, I've already mentioned the fact that we're going to have Carol Wheeler there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to also have the Sharp Steppers, which is made up of a lot of individuals. I would say older ladies, but they probably resent me saying that, so I won't say that. Uh, they do hustle dancing. We have a saxophone player coming in from Bowling Green, Ohio, who's going to be performing. The Soul Practitioners, you know who they are?
No.
It's a band led by the assistant city attorney,
Okay.
John W. Reiser the third is the head guy, so they'll be performing. Um, Second Baptist Church of Ann Arbor will be performing. We will have several cakewalks. We will have some karaoke at the end. We'll have songs by local singers. Which Pacola Clark, Pacola Clark, Pacola Lewis is one of those singers, and we're going to have some information about who we are and what we do. We're going to talk a little bit about the history, and we're going to show that Ann Arbor can come together as a diverse group of people and celebrate a holiday that's not just a Black holiday, it is an American holiday. An
Agreed.
American holiday.
Well, and they also have the pleasure of hanging out with you there, right? You're going to be
Yeah,
emceeing and probably on the
yeah.
barbecue. I saw some pictures in the past of you barbecuing the food.
All right, all right. There was a lot of food parsoning that year. We're gonna have lots of vendors there. People representing all kinds of jewelry and um, social organizations, and um, we're gonna have some nice um, exchanges between the youth of Ann Arbor and the adults, because we want to make sure that if anybody who wants to do more than just have fun, we'll be there to answer questions. We're going
Hmm.
to have information about voter registration, um, voter irregularities. Like, for example, in a lot of areas, there are phone calls that come in the day before an election, and the phone call will say, um, there's a power outage. They want to let you know ahead of time that your voting place uh, won't have power tomorrow, so you can vote the very next day. And for people older than me, that sounds like a good thing. So they do things like um, listen to that, take the day off, and go down to the polling place the very next day, and they're told voting was yesterday.
It's a scam.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to guard against those kind of things. Um,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
have
wonder, are you pushing absentee voting then too? Because
we're
then you can,
pushing absentee
yeah,
voting. We're pushing early registration.
yeah.
We're giving information about voter irregularities and voter intimidation. Um, and we have a whole booth just for that. And for the children, we have a huge slide. And probably from a distance, that'd be the first thing you see if you're coming to Juneteenth.
Yeah.
That's our children's area. We'll have face painting, we have games for kids, we have things they can do that some adults may not want to do. Although last year we had a huge slide that a lot of adults dominated part of it. We had to tell them kids first. We have
Who
a
doesn't love a good slide, huh?
yeah, we have a free throw shooting contest where people can win prizes. Um, do you know what a cakewalk is?
You actually were the first person years ago to tell me what a cakewalk was because I did not know what one was. And I think it is something that happens here a lot more. Like my daughter had one at her ice cream social, but it
Okay.
doesn't have the same meaning, obviously.
Yeah. Well, most people don't know what it means. Like a lot of people don't know who Al Wheeler was, don't know what Juneteenth means, right?
Hmm.
And so we're here to educate for the people who want to be educated. For the people who don't want to be, we still love them, right? And we're still open to talking to them if they're willing to talk to us. If somebody disagrees with anything that we're doing, we're open to hear why they think so, as long as they're willing to see the think about seeing the other side as well.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching and tune in next time to FYI.